So I will go for Android option. I'm not very sure why it has given Mac OS option and iOS option both, but I think that because I'm doing the Android app, I'm using Android platform, so I should go for Android option. And it says Firebase Android app Flutter menu is not registered on your Firebase project. Register a new Firebase Android app on your registered a new Firebase Android app on your Firebase project. Fetching registered iOS Firebase apps. New Firebase iOS app. Okay, so most of the things it's doing automatically, so I think it makes things easier, because when you do these all process manually, then you have to like do each and every step manually, and let's see what's the outcome. The files Android build Gradle and Android build will be updated to apply Firebase configuration and Gradle build plugins. Do you want to continue? Yes. Unhandled exception. Okay, so there are some unhandled exceptions. I'm not sure. Okay, this might have happened because iOS apps configuration is not in my system, so that could be reason, because Android configurations are successfully completed. And I think this error is there because Firebase core is yet not added. Maybe in the next steps we will be adding that. So for now, let's move to the next step. So the next step says initialize Firebase in your app. From your Flutter project directory, run the following command to install the core plugins. So I will just go ahead and run this command, and that should fix this error also. Yeah, so as expected, the error is gone. Let's move to the next command. So it says to fire this Flutter fire configure once again. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we can just skip this exception because this is because I haven't configured the iOS. If you have also not configured iOS, you might get this exception, and it's not a matter of concern because all the steps for Android is successfully completed. Okay, now the next step says in your lib main dart file, import the Firebase core plugins and configure file you generated earlier. So I think I just have to copy this command and paste it in my main.dart file. Yeah, so it's not giving any error. Also in your libmain.dart file, initialize Firebase using the default Firebase options object exported by the configuration file. Okay, so let's copy this and maybe we have to paste it. No, I think we will have to paste this here. But since we are using await, we have to use async. Async, no, not here. Yeah. So everything looks fine and there is no error. So what we will do, we will once run the app and see if it doesn't give any error. you just have to fire command flutter run. So I found that there are two ways to do this thing. The first is that you can do it manually, create the project, the Firebase project manually. Most of the steps are mentioned here in this video, and the other way is to follow these steps. This video is 2 years old, and I think these steps are updated one. They keep it up to date, the Firebase team, and this video is a bit old, but still I think these steps do work. And as I witnessed that when you fire command flutter fire configure, it had some glitches, and we had to create the Firebase project manually. That one step we had to do manually, and for the rest of the things, the command the CLI commands work pretty well. So our app is still in the build stage, it's building. So this is just the core of Firebase, and if you want to go for additional features, then there are plugins available. For example, if we want to use the authentication feature, then there is authentication plugin for that, and we will be using it in our next video, because this authentication is very useful feature and one of the important feature of Firebase. So we will definitely be using it. And this build is taking time because we have added Firebase packages also, so that could be one of the reason why it's taking time. Without Firebase, I think by now the build would have been complete. Here we can see we have the steps for adding Firebase plugin as well. So the steps are quite straightforward and simple. Flutter app, Flutter pub add, the name of the Firebase plugin, and then again we have to run flutter fire configure, and then we have to just run the flutter run command. So only these 3 steps. Okay, so I think this is done, and it's giving some okay, it says that unhandled exception binding has not yet been initialized. So I think we have to run the widget binding, widget flutter binding, ensure initialized. Maybe this should help. And let's hot reload this and see what happens. Yeah, so I think we have to add this command, this line of code, widgets flutter binding dot ensure initialized, and yeah, our app is working now. So I hope you you'll find this video informative, and the steps are pretty straightforward if you know it. There are a few glitches. Maybe I think Firebase team will fix this soon. You can also follow the steps in the video, but I think these steps are very easy to follow. In the next video, we will do the authentication part, and we will add authentication plugin, and the other steps that are needed, we will do that. Once we are done with the authentication, we will start building some apps, and some really good apps. Thank you so much for watching this video. Bye bye.